Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the Real Work Show. My name is Mark Godair. If you're familiar with the show, we are hosting conversations with people really focused on exposing what real work is like to help people make better decisions about their education and their careers. We're having lots of fun doing that, interviewing people that are passionate about their work, that have found that intersection between the work that they love and what they can be successful at, based on their different gifts and talents and experiences. This segment's going to be a little bit different today. We're doing a few videos specifically focused on the co-op experience. So people that have done co-op or work term programs while they're in the middle of studying. We want to talk to them to understand what their experience has been like and how good of a bridge co-op was in terms of getting them from what they thought work was going to be like to what it actually was like. And today we have the privilege of talking with Sergio. Hey, Sergio.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing fantastic, and thank you for the time this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. You had probably had lots of other interesting things to do, but we appreciate you sticking around to answer a few questions. So Sergio actually is an interesting case because he's actually been through a few different work terms. So this is going to be a really interesting perspective. Sergio, do you want to start off by giving a bit of an outline of the different work terms you had? You don't need to get into the specific companies, but what kind of different roles you did in your work terms?
In 2015 was my first co-op work term. I worked in the distribution and logistics side of things. So within a distribution center and a startup, for the 4-month period, I got exposed to logistics. And then I followed up with a 2017 work term within master data governance and data analytics, and then followed up with an internship in 2018 within category management, within procurement. And then I kind of got a contractor role while I was finishing my degree in procurement.
Very cool. And what program were you doing in school when you were doing those work terms? What program were you completing?
So bachelor's of business administration, general management was my major, with concentration in procurement and finance. And then within the co-op program, I graduated within that.
So try and imagine before you done any of those work terms. I'm sure as a student, when you thought about the big bad world of, actually being in an office and working, you probably had certain ideas. And then fast forward, you actually start a work term, you're in an office or in that logistics center. What was that experience like? So how different or how similar was the actual work environment to what you thought when you were just studying?
So I think the main difference was when I was first applying for these co-op positions, I knew I was going to do relatively meaningful work. But when I was actually in these co-op programs and more so in the long ones, so ones where I was there for 12 months or 8 months, I got kind of an opportunity to kind of develop other skills. So because originally I thought I was just going to be focused on operations.
Right.
But then within these other roles, you kind of get more introduction to projects, which is an interest in mine now. So I do think that just because you're a co-op student doesn't mean you're just going to do redundant work that everyone just throws at you. You will actually hopefully be able to do meaningful work that you'll use in future experiences.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure you've heard the same thing. It sounds to me like you've had pretty positive experiences. I've certainly talked to people whose co-op experiences were not fantastic. It was kind of like they were the go get me a coffee guy instead of doing meaningful work. But you had a pretty positive experience, it sounds like.
Yeah, no, very good. And like part of the experience is also trying to develop different areas of what I like. So within supply chain procurement, whatever you want to call it, there's various facets that you can go into: category management, data analytics, procurement, operations, logistics. So after doing all those programs, I kind of discovered what I liked.
Yes.
So that was, yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So based on the study that you were doing, based on the courses you were doing, it would have been pretty tough to find at least within procurement or within supply chain what the specific avenue was that you wanted to take. It sounds like the work terms really helped you kind of narrow that down. Is that fair to say?
For sure, yeah. So yeah, I used that experience to then when I was actually applying for like a full-time role after I graduated, to kind of narrow it down to specific areas of where I wanted to work. which I think is very beneficial. So I didn't go into the job searching process blindly, right?
Right. So Sergio, one thing I'm interested in is without getting into the specifics of the school that you went to, um, did you find that they were really helpful in terms of you narrowing down the possibilities? Did they have programs or counselors or offices that specifically help you understand kind of a smorgasbord of options and help you narrow down? Like Sergio, it sounds like of all these areas in procurement or supply chain, it sounds like these ones would be a good fit. Or was it more you jumped into a work term and figured out on your own, like, I like this, but I don't like this?
So based on my experience, within the co-op program, we did have what I found beneficial was there was students who were a bit older, like maybe fourth or fifth year, who already had co-op experience. So they would come in and do presentations in front of the co-op class I was in, and they would kind of explain what they did, what they liked about the program, what they did not. So based on that information, I was maybe able to ask follow-up questions and then really understand what they liked from it, and then base it off my interests to see if that's something I'd like to apply for.
Right.
So in general, I did like that. But what I found that lacked was there's kind of just an ambiguous. Okay, you're a supply chain student. You're just going to apply for this bucket of jobs,
Right.
um, and it didn't really matter which function within supply chain that was. Yeah.
Right, right. And,
Mhm.
and I guess, Sergio, probably part of that, even based on my own experience with those kind of programs, I think those programs typically are extremely competitive. I mean, at least in markets like this part of Canada where we are, it's very competitive. There's tons of applicants. There's lots of demand to fill those roles. And so probably from a student perspective, I'm guessing part of you is kind of like, wherever I can get in sounds good, right? Is probably some of that? You're not being too picky necessarily, or?
So it really depends on whether it's your first work term or your second or third. So for example, in my first work term, I wasn't too picky.
Right.
I networked it with the hiring manager, and I was able to obtain the 4 month internship. And then using that experience, I leveraged that experience to get my follow up internship. So one recommendation I give is to know how to network and communicate electronically with hiring managers, ask the right questions, and then use that leverage for future opportunities.
Right. No, that's a good segue. Anything else you can think of other than I assume having good marks is important, but for someone that's looking at doing one of these co-op work terms that are super competitive, other than good marks, what else do you think was important in terms of you being able to land those important roles for a work term?
I think that one fact that a lot of people overlooked is finding a job is a game of numbers. So statistically speaking, if you apply for 10 jobs versus 100 jobs, you'll most likely get at least more interviews when you apply to the 100 jobs. So my suggestion is, and it's something that I've been using throughout early in my career, is kind of like shortlisting 10 or 5 or 10 jobs that you really like and you really see yourself working in, and
Yes.
tailor your resume cover letter to apply for those jobs,
Right.
and then just apply for the remaining 90 or 80 jobs to kind of like statistically improve your chances. So yeah.
That's awesome. And so overall, Sergio, in terms of the work term or co-op experience, in terms of being a bridge between what you thought work was going to be like and what it was actually like, Did you find these co-op work terms to be a good way to kind of bridge that gap?
Yeah, no, for sure. So as a student, it's kind of like the mentality. I think it all has to do with the mentality where as a student, you tend to kind of like understand that it's just you that are accountable for the work that you do, and but then again, you're the only one that's affected by the work. So you're gonna pass a test if you study, or vice versa. In a work environment, you have a manager, a team lead, a team, clients, business partners that all depend on the work that you do. So if you choose to not do the right job, then it's going to hurt the rest of the team. So
Right.
that's the biggest way I got, and that I still use to this day.
Super
Mhm.
interesting. Sergio, really want to thank you for this time. Thank you so much for the help you provided. I think for those in particular that are thinking about doing a work term, thinking about doing a co-op, you've been able to answer some questions and help them think that through and hopefully land in a full-time job like I know you have that you're enjoying. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Awesome. We'll see you soon.
Okay, bye. See you soon.